good afternoon. It's Friday today, even though the episodes go out on a Wednesday. We've taken a bit of a curveball, haven't we? Just before we start.
Oh, okay. Go on then.
I'm Vickki Ridgway. I am a litigation... What am I? Litigation expert, dispute resolution lawyer.
You said something interesting then you said before we start.
And who are you?
That's not interesting.
Rude.
Today I am Geraldine Watson with a bad back.
Oh, what do you do, Jezza?
What do I do, or what did I do?
What do you do?
Oh, yeah, I suppose I should say that, shouldn't I? I'm a family law solicitor.
And
Specialist.
Together
we are Lawfully Yours.
Well, thank you for that. Bit of a mishmash, but yeah, Friday afternoon.
Yes.
Not what I'd normally be doing on a Friday afternoon. What about you?
It's your sort of wine afternoon.
Not at this time. No, not at this time.
It's always wine afternoon.
And lately it's been like crazy, so I've been working beyond what I expected to be working beyond.
God forbid you should work beyond 5 p.m.
Well, no, I want to be finishing earlier, especially on a Friday.
You would if you was years ago. If you was employed, you'd finish like at Friday lunchtime. You wouldn't. You'd have half a day.
No, I've never finished at a Friday lunchtime.
In not the non-legal world.
Oh, I don't know about
Jobs
that.
pre the legal world.
Don't know. I can't remember that far.
Well, I can. I have a better memory than you.
You have, but then I'm far along the journey of menopausal brain fog than you are.
Perimenopausal, like I'm telling you, I'm not menopausal yet. I'm perimenopausal.
I was going to say something then, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I am not gonna.
Okay.
What have you been up to?
Yesterday, I went to see my friend Drew. I'm going to give a shout out, Drew Dennis. I'm not saying where he works.
You don't need to like speak right into that because they can hear you over there.
He does family law as well.
Oh,
so I'm not going to. But yeah, so he was in amateur dramatics called Kiss Me Kate.
Right.
At the Nottingham. The West Bridgford Operatic Society in Nottingham. Oh. It was amazing.
Did he sing?
Oh, amazing!
Really?
I've never heard him
opera?
sing. No.
Oh.
No. So it was a take on the Shrew, the William Shakespeare, the Shrew. Kiss Me Kate.
You got
their adaptation of their adaptation. It was so
was
good.
It
was honestly.
Is this
brilliant.
on the back of you wanting to do your own amateur?
Yeah, so obviously I'm doing the Curve Community Project, aren't I?
You are.
And I've only had 2 lessons.
And I had a sample of that as you walked in the door this afternoon. Yeah. Would you like to share?
Oh, shall I see if I can remember it?
Yes,
oh, you put me on the spot
do.
now.
Ah.
It's called Another Day. I think it's called Another Day. Oh my God, see if I can remember it now. Right. Another Day. Oh, it's gone out my head now. Another Day. Something. wait. Another Day, something. That's all there is for the. Oh, that's all there is for the poor. Something a war, a struggle a war. There's nothing anybody's giving. One day less sitting something. One day less sitting something.
Cut.
I can't remember it now.
You're not going to, it's not going to work.
One day.
You'll suddenly remember it and then you'll spurt it out.
God. So yeah, it's giving me a push now to want to do my own.
Interesting.
Not me do do more of that.
Interesting.
Yeah. What about you?
So it was our youngest daughter's birthday this week. And we've got a granddaughter, as you know, Alba, she's 3. And she came over with her mum for tea and cake and stuff. And I was working in the office. I've moved the office back inside now while we're packing up to move. Yeah. So I'm working away and I can hear Colin and Kate and Kelsey in the kitchen. They've obviously left Alba in the living room somewhere. And then I hear this little in the hall. And then I just hear what's going on in here then? And that was Alba.
Oh,
what's going on in here then? You
her.
have to be so careful what you say because she literally picks it up like that.
That's so. Oh, bless her. That's well cute.
She's just so funny. She's
What's
like
she's a little old woman.
She is. She's like a little old woman in a 3-year-old's body. But I love her to bits. Can I just say? And I know Megan's not taking part in the in the pod here, but you are there. So when we come in to the studio, there's loads of like inspirational books and stuff.
Oh, you're going to mention it? You're not going to mention it.
I've got it here.
Oh, no, is it the comment?
Yeah.
What on earth?
Oh, you brought it in with you.
I'm going to have a look at it. What's on page 69?
Yeah, what's on page 69?
Page 6.
Dare you?
It doesn't go up to page 69. It goes up to page... Oh,
what the hell is that?
Say. Yeah,
Why
so
have you got it?
why
Why
is
have you
this-
got that?
Why is this in the studio?
That's not my
Oh, that makes perfect
yeah,
sense now.
think about it.
Why are these
Look
two
at that,
pages
look at
stuck
that,
together?
Look at that.
Oh.
Oh
Jesus
dear.
Christ.
You better make sure she doesn't take that home with her.
Oh.
Check.
Oh, wow.
Take what home with me?
It's a
What
bit
are you
small,
talking
isn't it?
about? That's what you
No,
said.
the book. The book. That's amazing.
Oh, brilliant. Anyway, back to Lawfully Yours. So I settled a case this week.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, it was something really that didn't need to get to the stage that it did. So I was approached by, well, not approached, but instructed by a chap who had been in a long-term relationship with this lady. They bought a house together. Things had gone wrong. He'd moved out about 18 months ago. And he'd moved on, basically. He was in a new relationship. And he wanted to come off the mortgage of the other property.
Yeah.
So he was quite reasonable in my view. He was saying that, obviously they weren't married, otherwise that would have come to you. He was saying that he's happy for her to buy him out at a discounted price, or if not, the house should go on the market. Unfortunately, she was really quite reluctant to engage in any kind of dialogue. She ignored correspondence, tried to speak to her. We did have a conversation. She was more about why the relationship had broken down, which is obviously irrelevant to what we're talking about. But she refused to engage, and we sent her correspondence saying, right, we've had 3 independent valuations. This is what the property is valued at. This is what we'd be prepared to accept or walk away. Completely ignored us. So we had no choice other than to issue proceedings for an order for sale.
And that would be under the Trust of Land?
It will be under Talata.
I guess.
Yes, under Talata, the Trust of Land.
The Appointment of Trustees Act 1994? Or 1984? 1994?
Talata.
Anyway, Talata.
Yeah. And it was only when we issued proceedings and served them that she then instructed solicitors, who came at me like a force to be reckoned with, basically saying that we hadn't given their client the opportunity to offer to sell, blah, 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 blah. So I literally sent them all the correspondence that, with all due respect, I don't think your client has disclosed to you the pre-issue correspondence. Anyway, long story short, we agreed the terms of settlement, which was that the property was to be sold, estate agents' fees, solicitors' fees to come out, but also out of her share of the proceeds of sale, she's to pay our client's legal costs. Now, obviously, that could have been avoided had she literally just engaged. She had no choice. Yeah, she had no choice. She'd misled her solicitors, and they were in a position where, well, look, we can either agree to do this or we can go to court, and the court is going to make a similar order, but by that time, costs will be higher. So
it's frustrating, isn't it, when that happens? Because it's like you do try your best to keep things out of court, and then people just bury their head in the sand, don't do anything.
I was very aware that she wasn't legally represented, so I was being very, speaking to her and writing to her in very simple lay terms, and not being threatening at all.
Yeah.
But in the end, I had to say, look, if you're not going to engage with me, and it's just, and I understand why. Because of what she told me in terms of why the relationship broke down, I understand why she was bitter and upset. But, again, we always say our role as lawyers is to take away the emotion of the situation and advise on the practicalities.
Yeah.
So, but, it was a good result. Our client's more than happy. But that took probably about 8-9 months, whereas it could have been dealt with in a month or so, I would have thought.
I think people think that, I'll just ignore the letter, it'll go away.
Yeah.
They don't take it
doesn't,
seriously, do they?
Yeah.
Whereas if she'd got legal advice at the early stages, she herself would have avoided a lot.
Yeah.
She herself would have avoided
Absolutely.
the court, all the legal fees, etc.
Yeah.
But she chose not to. So, well done.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
Well, I want to talk about when clients already have solicitors and they want to change. That's always a really difficult conversation, because sometimes when you get that new inquiry, they don't always tell you they've got a solicitor until the end of the phone call.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me recently. But I think the main thing to get out is that obviously when you instruct a solicitor, it's all based on trust. You've got to have trust with your solicitor. if for whatever reason that trust breaks down, it could be lack of communication, they feel there's a lack of progress or whatever it may be, they do have the choice then to go somewhere else.
Their freedom of choice. Yeah.
Sometimes it's like having a second opinion, isn't
Yeah.
it? So I think the point is just getting out there that trust is so important. And I know that we are really busy because we don't just have one client.
Yeah.
We are really busy. But I think that's where it comes back to the big basics of knowing your client and knowing how to manage them.
Yeah.
Some clients need more hands-on
Absolutely.
approach.
Some are quite happy just for you to contact them
as and when.
Yeah. Others want contact every week, as long as they understand that.
Yeah.
And I find I've had that sometimes where someone has rang up and said, "Oh, I've got this case. This is what's happened. Blah blah blah," and you sort of give them initial advice to a degree. And I think they're all, like you say, almost trying to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
I get it quite a lot with personal injury cases where they say, "Oh, they actually come out and say, I've got a solicitor representing me. They've said that my case is worth this much. What do you think?" Hang on a minute.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to be careful because you could have clients that are going from solicitor to solicitor until they get the answer they want. So you've got that aspect of it as well. Yeah. But I think people are sometimes fearful. They think if I change solicitors, it's going to end up costing me more money.
Yeah.
But if you stay with the wrong solicitor, that will end up costing you more money in the long run.
Yeah.
So I think it's just knowing that you do have that freedom of choice.
Yeah.
But if you're not happy with your solicitor, have that conversation.
Yeah, and equally, if they're not happy with what you are doing, you know, sometimes there's a breakdown in communication or there's a clash of personalities, and it's the same as anything. You can have a room full of GPs or a surgery full of GPs, and there might be a couple that you don't gel with, but another one that you do, and that's okay.
Absolutely,
it's okay. Yeah.
I think because you're dealing with such personal issues as well, you do have to feel comfortable with your solicitor.
Or your lawyer. It's not just a solicitor.
Your lawyer.
Yes.
Your lawyer.
You done any jazzers?
Well, it's not so much of as a jazzer.
Oh, are you going off?
I know.
Are you? What's going on? You're not becoming normal, are you?
I think I might be. But it's to do with...
It's a trick.
It's to do with the washing machine cycle.
Okay.
Have you ever, you put a washing machine cycle on.
An indented pediment.
Isn't it? And then I always like to wait because it does 2 clicks. My washing machine does 2 clicks before it starts. So I always wait for the 2 clicks to make sure it's going to start washing and then walk away. But this week I put a cycle on and waited for the 2 clicks. And then I just stood there watching it. I was mesmerised by watching.
The clicks happened and the washing started.
Yeah, then it started. And then it was going round, then it goes round and I just literally sat there for ages watching, mesmerised by the washing machine. Couldn't stop. Have you never done that? No. Like you get into a bit of a trance.
I get into a trance.
Oh, Gas has done that.
I get into a trance. I can't say that I've been in a trance watching the washing machine.
I'm interested.
It's self-regulation.
Oh,
is it?
Yeah, you'll find certain things, and again, I know we'll talk about this in a bit. But if you're feeling quite stressed, or if your brain's very busy, there's certain things that you can do, like to help self-regulate your body for your nervous system.
Really?
So some people I hoover when I'm stressed, and that is self-regulation because the feedback from pushing the hoover it regulates your nervous system. So
that makes sense because I am stressed this week. That makes perfect sense then.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a good time to introduce our guest.
Yes, it is. So today we are joined by Matt Tomeo.
Tomeo.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah.
Matt Tomeo, who is a local district councillor.
I am indeed. And thank you for both
Welcome.
for having me.
Thank you.
Welcome. Baptism of fire here.
So I'm a district councillor, I'm a parish councillor, and I also work in the fashion retail industry.
Wow.
So that's my full-time job, and then I do everything else.
Wow.
After working at the weekends.
So do you want to start off by, I suppose, going back to when you was at school, what you did, your journey to where you are now?
What were your aspirations and
all those sorts of things?
What's the reality in
comparison?
comparison?
So I grew up down south in Bedfordshire. I was an only child as well, so I got all the attention. And then throughout school, I think I probably I used to flit around quite a lot into what I wanted to do. So I did a lot of extracurricular stuff. My parents would push me to do music. So I did my piano exams up to grade 6.
Wow.
I can play the violin and the viola, which is a bigger version of the violin. swimming, art, karate. I've done all
Wow.
sorts of things like that, just
Oh.
because it was like just try everything
Yeah.
and see what you're into. And when I got to secondary school, I was really interested in the sciences, particularly biology. And I was like, okay, let's see what this could be.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I did a week work experience at the local hospital in the pathology labs.
Oh, wow.
And after that week, I was like, no, this is not for me. Because I was seeing all sorts of bits of autopsies and
Yeah.
human tissue samples. And
Which is
I-
fine when it's on the TV, isn't it, I guess? But not
Yeah.
when it's
Or
like,
Grey's Anatomy or
Yeah.
something.
yeah.
and
Anyway,
even
yeah.
sperm samples from
Oh, wow.
people checking for fertility. And I can still remember the smell to this day.
Oh, don't.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, like it put me off eating meat for a very long time.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I did that, and then I was like, right, this is not for me. I love it. It's interesting as a topic, but not for
Yeah,
a career.
not the practical side.
And then I wanted to do architecture because I'm always interested in buildings and the history behind buildings in particular. And I actually got offered a place at Coventry University to do architecture. And then I was like,
Okay.
actually, I didn't feel ready to go to university, so I ended up working for a year just in a shop. And then I came across a scheme with a retailer in the Midlands to do my degree while I worked for them.
Fabulous.
So in the head office. So
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this instead.
Yeah.
Because I had an interest in fashion. I have lots of different interests if that's coming across. So I was like,
Yeah,
let's go and give this a go. So I did that for about 4 years. I worked there for 4 years while I got my degree, sort of doing like a day release.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was with Manchester Met. So I got to go to Manchester quite a bit. So that was good.
Yeah.
And I think that propelled me a lot quicker in
Yeah.
the career ladder
Yeah.
I have. Because I managed to go up the ranks quite quickly then, because those years I would have spent at university, I was actually spent in the workplace.
Yeah.
And
So you got
a
that
lot more
combination.
practical
Yeah.
experience, which is really interesting because now I'm in a position where I hire a lot of young people into my team who've come out of university, but they come out with the skills that I think I wish
Yeah.
you spent all that money going to university, and unfortunately you don't know how to write an email
Yeah.
or how to speak to people these days
Yeah.
face to
Absolutely.
face. And I'm like,
yeah.
part of me thinks, okay, I recognise it in myself, but I started a lot younger and also I didn't pay all that money to go to university.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so so that kind of led me into working in fashion retail, and I sort of worked my way up there.
Okay.
And very much do things around numbers and planning and forecasting, but I also get to work with clothes as well. So it's
Love
kind of
it.
a bit of both,
Yeah.
really. And working with different cultures, because we obviously have
Yep.
suppliers and factories all over the world. So that's also really interesting because you actually understand different cultures a lot better, surprisingly, because you have to really take that into account when you're dealing with people. And I think actually it's some of those skills then that I've taken into being a counsellor. You
Yes,
deal with
I can
lots of
imagine.
people from
Yeah.
different backgrounds, and
Yeah.
a lot of the time you have to step back and think, why are they approaching the situation like they are?
Yeah.
I know you guys were just talking about people wanting different
Yes.
communication styles, and actually that was really relevant to what I do as a counsellor as well,
Yeah.
because you have to think about that a lot.
So what made you go into being a counsellor
Counsellor.
from working in fashion?
So that was, I guess, a bit of a twist. So when we moved to Leicestershire. I moved to Leicestershire a good few years ago now. And when we bought our first house in Hinckley, we lived there for a few years. And during COVID to 2020, we moved to Lubbocksthorpe, where we currently live, and it was a new build area. And I thought, you know what? I'm actually going to try and get involved in the community a lot more now, because it was quite a
Brilliant.
small,
Yeah.
tight-knit community. So I actually joined the parish council, which I know sounds very Vicar of Dibley-ish. And that's fate. I feel
Love
like
it.
I love it, because I just think people just think it's like go to church and, sandwiches made of sardines and orange marmalade, whatever there was. So I did I'm still on the parish council, but I joined that, which is just voluntary. You don't obviously get an allowance, and it's very much just doing things in the community. So we organise a lot of events, and I was like, I loved it because it's actually, you get to know a lot more people, you get to be involved. And I'm one of those people where if I see a problem, I like to try and fix it. I'm a fixer. So I was like, if I see things that I don't think are quite right or that need improving, I might not be part of it, as opposed to just be sending emails or, on social media complaining. So I did that for a few years. And then I got speaking to someone else who was on the parish council at the time, and she was a county councillor and a district councillor. So she had all the three hats on, as we say. And then I just got talking to her and her husband, and they put me forward to be a district councillor in the elections that were held a few years ago. And to be honest, at the time, I didn't really know what I was getting myself in for, because it's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Because it's very procedural. Obviously, you've got lots of laws, lots of regulations, and unfortunately, public councils are bound by a lot of rules and things they have to follow. So although you might think, that should be a really quick fix or really easy solution, Unfortunately, it's not always the case
Mm.
because we have to follow process and we're bound by restrictions or budgets, etc.
Yeah.
But it was a baptism of fire, but in a good way. And I just really enjoyed then
Yeah.
having some influence and some opportunity to try and help people.
Is it
It's a
right?
lot
That's
though,
a
isn't it?
3-year. Is it a 3-year? Because a friend of mine's a counsellor for the Green Party, I think, and I think hers is a 3-year term.
It depends because so I was elected during the official election, so I've got
Okay.
a full term.
Yeah.
But if you can also be co-opted as a councillor sometimes, or you
Right.
can get elected partway through the term. So in that
Okay.
case, you would only serve the rest. So if it's a 4 or 5 year term,
Yeah.
then you would just serve the rest of it.
Does it take a
Okay.
lot of your time though, bearing in mind you've got a full-time job as well?
It can do, but it's very up and down
Right.
because a lot of the way I approach being district councillor is I try to be as proactive as possible. So if I see things and I think, right, I know that's going to become an issue,
Yeah.
I'll try and start to deal with it before people come to
Prepare.
me because
Yeah.
I can get prepared that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be very up and down. Like some weeks I won't get any residents contact me, and then the next week I can get 3 or 4 things, and they can be ranging from my bins didn't get collected on Wednesday to I've got an antisocial behaviour issue.
Okay.
So some of them can be quite complex.
Yeah.
But what's good about my patch is we've got 3 district councillors because we're quite a large area.
Okay.
So what we tend to do is, because one of us is retired, so we tend to sort of spread the workload. So
Brilliant.
things that maybe need to be dealt with during the day, one of us will deal with, and
Yeah.
things that I can sort of do sort of in the evenings or
Yeah.
when I've got free time at the weekend, I will deal with. So it's nice to be able to bounce
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And that's how we learn as well, because my colleague has been a district councillor for a very long time.
Right.
So anything he doesn't know isn't worth knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's like every, part of life, it's who you know sometimes.
Yeah.
In terms of,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is the right person to contact, these are the right things to say. Because again, that was the biggest part, I think,
Yeah.
was just learning the process of who to contact
Yeah.
and how to get around the challenges, shall we
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and open the doors.
You were telling us earlier you've got a young family.
I do. So I'm married, been married for a couple of years now, but we've been together for 10 years now, which is a
Okay.
scary thing to say. And I've got a son, so I've got an adopted son who's now 8, and we adopted him 3 years ago.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
Been a whirlwind of change.
But it has.
Yeah.
Going from being footloose and fancy free 1 minute to then literally the next day. I'll never forget the first night he moved in with us.
Yeah.
And the next day I was like, oh, no, it was in the evening. We put him to bed and we were like, oh, should we just go for a walk? And we're like, oh, hang on a minute, we can't just go for a walk.
Yeah.
Now I've got another human being to take care of. Like that was a massive
Yeah.
change because we hadn't gone through the stages, I guess, of being pregnant and then
Yeah.
having a baby and sort of working up to that.
You just
Having a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It's literally overnight.
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because kids start to get their own personalities, what they like, what they don't like, and that's
Yeah.
before you even talk about adoption and
Yeah.
what that brings and all the background to that. So yeah, it was a baptism of fire, but now I look back and I'm like, it just feels normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
It's just
Feels
like,
like you've always
I've
had
always
it.
done it.
and-
Yeah, we've
Was
been a
the-
parent.
Process a long process.
I would say for us, it wasn't as long as it could be, and I think it very much depends on your situation. So I know there was like a group of us that went into the first stage together. So we
Okay.
went to an adoption agency. We didn't go to the local authority
Okay.
because they're independent.
Okay.
So we went to an adoption agency that were very good in my opinion, and there was a group of us that started together. So we had like a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And
you
even to this
went
day,
along the journey with them.
Some of them still haven't actually adopted a child.
Oh wow.
Because different things can happen. So
Yeah.
people can lose a job sometimes and that pauses things, or you don't maybe pass a medical the first time, or there's so many different things because your life gets looked at
Yeah.
inside and out. There is
Yeah.
no skeletons in the closet. Everything from our fridge got looked into to our bank statements got
Gosh.
assessed. So, you can imagine there is no stone unturned. Quite rightly so, because you want to make sure these children are with the right families. But
Yeah.
it took us about a year, I'd say, from
Okay.
making the initial investigations through to getting approved.
It's not too bad, really. Is
No,
it?
and it's a weird situation because while you sometimes think, oh God, this is taking forever, at
Yeah.
the same time it feels like it's moving really quickly.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
really explain it, but because you'll have weeks where nothing happens and then all of a sudden you'll get given a big workbook of documentation to fill out, and and you'll have references done, and my parents got interviewed.
Yeah.
So things happen in fits and spurts, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it went quite quickly looking back. And then after we got approved, so you have to go to a panel to be approved.
Yeah.
Now ours was done virtually because it was sort of post-COVID and everything was on Teams back then. And essentially you're just going to ask lots of questions by different people. And that can range from paediatricians on the panel to previous adopters, social workers, and they basically will look at your file and they will sort of pick out possibly maybe some of your weaknesses and strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they basically ask you to go into any more detail,
Yeah.
essentially. And I guess it's kind of easy because you're just talking about yourself but at the same time, not for me, but for my partner, there was obviously things that he, not like he didn't want to talk about them, but they were quite personal
Yes,
issues.
of course.
So
yeah.
it is a very personal, process and
Yeah.
journey because, like I said, everything gets brought up because
Yeah.
you've got to make sure you're
You're
ready.
literally exposed, aren't you? Your whole life.
Yeah. So we did that, and then we got approved, and that was obviously great. And then you start family finding. So it's very bizarre because you literally get access to what I call Facebook for adopted children.
Oh, wow.
It's like a website, and it's just got profiles of picture, name, bit of blurb. It's very bizarre and that's probably the hardest bit actually, because essentially, although you go through a long process of making sure that the child is right for your family and you're right for the child, you're basically having to pick.
Yeah, it's like almost like a dating website, isn't it?
It is
Swipe
because
left.
there's filters. You can filter by age, by gender.
Wow.
And
Okay.
that's hard, but that's where having a good relationship with your social worker
Yeah.
Yeah.
is really good. And I think we were very lucky that we had a very good social worker, and by going through an agency, although you always adopt a child from a local authority, by having an agency you kind of have someone that's on your side. Whereas we've spoken to adopters who say they would have gone to their local authority to be adopters, and then they adopt from that local authority, you don't have that separation. So sometimes you don't have someone else sat back and saying, right, this isn't actually the right process and I'm a bit concerned here, I'm going to flag it.
Yeah.
Whereas we had that. So we had someone always on our court, in our side, on our, in our court, making sure things were done properly, which was really important to us, because going into it, you can do all the reading, all the research in the world, but until you live in that experience, you're never going to fully know everything. So we were really lucky we had someone to sort of guide us and talk to us and help us hone down which child we thought would be right for us.
What was in your minds in terms of, I don't want to say what sort of child, but what age, gender, background, anything like that? Did you have any particular absolutely not, and this is absolutely non-negotiable?
I think we had a rough idea. I think we might be rarer amongst adopters. We didn't actually want a baby.
Okay, yeah.
Because, it sounds really horrible, but I think it's really important, is that unfortunately these days children only tend to get adopted if there is abuse or neglect.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a long time ago we used to have children that were put up for adoption because maybe mum was pregnant and she was single, not married, and there was that whole cultural stigmatism.
Yeah.
So we were told very much that a lot of the children have additional needs, and some of those needs don't become prevalent until they're a bit older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a prime example of that is something called fetal alcohol syndrome.
Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously, unfortunately as well, birth parents aren't very forthcoming necessarily about what they've done or haven't done during pregnancy. And we were just conscious of the fact that could we look after a child that had very severe difficulties later? And that was just something we decided we weren't able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, some people may judge us for that, but I think it's important that we were honest.
Yeah.
100%.
Because it's that child that ultimately would suffer and not get what they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I went for a slightly older child, because
You
more was
knew.
known.
Yeah.
The challenges and the positives. So we went. We knew we wanted a slightly older child. We actually disagreed on the gender.
Okay.
I really wanted a boy. My partner really wanted a girl. There was no real reason for it.
Yeah.
It's just, and I guess in a way it's an odd choice to have, because if you were having a child biologically,
you get what you give
get
it.
what
you
you're
get,
given,
yeah.
don't you? So we ended up, and then the bit of advice that we really took though in the end was just go with your heart almost. You kind of will get, we were told you'll just get a feeling.
Yeah.
And then anyway, we were just scrolling through and we came across this boy's profile, and it's really sad, but when a child gets to a certain age, they're considered hard to place. And I think it's from about 4 or 5 upwards, they're a hard to place child, which essentially means no one really wants them.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
It's very sad.
So we saw this little boy, he was 5, and we watched a video that they'd done, and they almost do these videos to try and make them advertise them more. So we watched this video and we thought, oh, right, that's the one.
Yeah.
But then we discovered his brother was on there as well. He was a year older.
No.
Wow. Okay.
And they couldn't be adopted together they'd been assessed by sort of specialists.
Yeah.
And they had decided that for the boy's needs, they both needed to be adopted separately. So then we were like, ooh, because we like the look of both profiles.
Yeah.
So, but then it was a very hard decision. But just through talking it through with our social worker, we decided to go for our son that we have today.
Yeah.
And then we started the next part of the process, which is then swapping of details. So you get sort of, by the end of the process, you have a massive file on you, which is everything.
Yeah.
So you kind of swap this big book on us with the big book from the child.
Yeah.
And that goes into everything. So that talked about his birth parents' history from when they were kids and what they went through. And,
oh, wow.
Because you'll find, again, unfortunately, a lot of parents in that situation will have had social services involved. So from a very young age, we were like, this happened and that happened. So we knew everything about him, his family, his brother. So you basically just read these documents and then you kind of go to another panel, which is basically checking that the child's needs
are going to be met.
You can meet. And then again, we passed that, which was obviously great because again, that was probably more nerve-wracking actually than the first panel, because at that point you're invested.
Well, there's a human being, there's a physical
you've seen
possibility there,
and you start
isn't
to
there?
imagine what life could be. So we did that. And then, we started introductions. So we did like a bump into. So we went up to where he was living. And we basically were in a coffee shop and his foster carers bumped into us and pretended they were our friends. Just be like, so
and what was that like?
It was so nerve-wracking because we were there earlier. So we were just waiting. And then they just come up and there's this boy there. And he didn't know, obviously, that we who we were. And he was just talking to us. And then at the end, it was only half an hour, so it was very short. And at the end, he was like, "Oh, can you come to McDonald's with us?" And we were like, "Oh, we're not." We was like, "Oh, we can't today." And then he kept looking back at us as well. And we were like, "I wonder if he does know."
Yeah.
I wonder if he does know.
That's a really good way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it just keeps it really low pressure, just to get an idea. And then we observed him playing in the park one time, which again was very weird.
Yeah.
We drove 2 hours just to go and watch a child play in the park for an hour.
Yeah.
And we were like, we were two men sat here.
Yeah, can you imagine?
We felt so awkward. And then the sort of foster care sort of snuck over and just came and chatted to us, which was nice because then we felt a bit less weird. So we did that, and then once we were all sort of good to go, we went up to stay where he was living for 2 weeks. So we took 2 weeks off work, and we basically lived in an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And then we would sort of build up the visits. Yeah. So sort of day one, we sort of saw him for an hour, and then day two was a bit longer. So the idea was over the 2 weeks, we got like to see every part of the day, the routine. He got used to us. And in the second week, we sort of took over.
Wow.
Which was like absolutely, again, because you're in someone else's house. You're doing this all at the foster carer's house. So you feel like
you're being watched.
You're being watched, and you feel like you're being you're being judged. Not they were lovely, but there is still always that fear of like, what if we don't do this right?
Yeah.
What if we don't gel?
Yeah.
And I remember we took him out the second week, and he had a bit of a tantrum, and we went to a soft play. He didn't want to go, but obviously we only had a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And that was the first we were like, oh my god, like this is real now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We're dealing with this. It's not just like fun stuff. We're dealing with
this is the reality of having a 5-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. But I think we were lucky that the foster carers he were with were similar age to us, so sort of shared interests, and they had young kids themselves, so they understood and they were really supportive.
Fab.
So yeah, and then he came back. So at the end of those 2 weeks, he
was yours.
Yeah, they brought him down on a Friday or Thursday, and he basically moved in with us.
So obviously, being 5 years old, he knows that he's adopted, presumably.
He knows he's adopted. Yeah.
Do you talk to him about that? Is that a regular topic of conversation that you have?
It's very, as bizarre as it sounds, it's a regular topic of conversation because he knows a lot about his story.
Okay.
So he knows why he was adopted. He remembers a lot of things that happened before he went to foster care. He had 3 lots of foster carers as well for various reasons that weren't related to him or his brother. It's just circumstantial.
Yeah.
So he knows his story, which in a way is really good.
Yeah.
Because he is able to. It's easier when the child has sort of lived through it, I think. Not lived through it, but they know about it because then it's part of them. They know who they are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, obviously, then
they've got those memories,
but also questions.
Yeah.
Because these things, as I'm sure you guys appreciate, they're very complex in terms of reasons why. So to try and explain to a 5-year-old why they were neglected or abused, it's hard because they then think, well, that must mean I'm bad. Because people did bad things to me, so they must be bad people that make me bad. And you're trying to explain the nuances between how they could still have loved him but not been able to meet his needs.
Yeah.
And obviously you're there trying to be very neutral,
Yeah.
but at the same time you feel so angry
Yeah.
and so like for your son who went through that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I think over time you just get used to it, I wouldn't say.
Do the biological parents, do they still, I'm going back to my training days, do they do like a post thing once a year where they send something, or is it completely nothing?
So yeah, we have a letterbox agreement where we send a letter to both biological parents and biological grandparents, and the plan was that they send one back every year.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that hasn't happened.
Oh, okay.
So we still do the letters, and we've actually set up an email account now for our son. So what we do is when we send them off, we actually send it to that email address.
Okay.
With the idea being when he's old enough,
Look at them.
he can have that. So he's always got a record of what we did, because I think for us it's important that we are showing that we try.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want to happen, and what we're told possibly sometimes happens, is obviously these children become 18 and they get on social media and they're curious. They want to see their family and what's happened to them. But sometimes they can build up a fantasy of what maybe their family was like.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not about trying to show him that they were bad or they didn't do things. It's just giving him the evidence.
Yeah.
So when they say, oh, we tried to write a letter, but it wasn't sent, we can say, well, look, we sent all of these letters.
Yeah.
We never got a reply. That's that. You know, you'll be old enough at that point to draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
So that's really important to us, because it's part of his story, I guess. So, but yeah, we send photos, and a couple of photos a year and a letter.
Did it take a long time for him to settle with you?
It did, and I would say we're sort of going into the 4th year now, and I'd say probably it took about 2 years at least, because he was 5. He obviously, like I said, he moved around a lot. So to us, we were just strange. He was just we were strangers to him. So when we said to him, "This is your forever home,"
can he
had no
believe
reason to
that?
believe us.
Yeah.
You know, especially at first. So before it's all legally finalised, you still have social workers visit.
Yeah.
So you're still having. For him, it was no different to foster care. It was living with 2 people.
Yeah.
My social worker still comes to see me. They're telling me it's forever, but
might not be.
Because last time a social worker came when I lived with somewhere else, one day they told me I was moving. So it takes time.
Yeah.
But you can see over time it gradually builds up, and there's the little things. So going from, he would refer to the house as, oh, your house, we're going back to your house now, and then one day it's our house.
Yeah.
So it's just the little things.
Yeah.
So I'd say now he's very settled. It is his house. We've got a dog as well, and he's really close to the dog now. They're like, which is really nice, because it just helps that family feeling.
Yeah.
And he's settled in school, and he's settled with a wider family as well.
Brilliant.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Is he quite loving?
He's very lovely. He's very open, and he's very he comes across very confident. And I think that's where adoption can be hard, because you're having to, not constantly, but sometimes you feel the need to explain your child's behaviour. So you could meet him and he'll speak to you. He'll ask lots of questions. He won't be shy or timid. And people will say, "Oh, it's amazing. He's so confident." But what I want to say is the reason he's so confident is because in order to basically survive, he's had to not have any stranger danger, because he's moved in with strangers.
Yeah.
Again and again and again.
Yeah.
And so that, although it's a strength on the surface of it, it doesn't come from a positive place.
Yeah.
So sometimes we don't obviously explain that, because not everyone needs to know his story. But other times it's important, because especially when it's like school adults or maybe family members, it's important they understand behind that bravado is it's probably still quite a scared and vulnerable child, and we don't want that to get sort of ignored.
I think so I shared earlier that I'm actually adopted. So I was adopted at 6 weeks. Well, I was placed with my adoptive parents at 6 weeks. I think the adoption process took longer. So it's all I've ever known. Some of the things that you were sort of saying there kind of struck me in terms of there's a lot of similarities, but then probably a lot of different. So you were saying about the process that you had to go through. I don't know necessarily the process that my parents had to go through. But I don't remember being told that I was adopted, but I can't remember not knowing that I was adopted. And I remember I used to look in the mirror and think, well, who do I look like? And, and I went through so I was, what would I be, 28 or something like that. I remember I'd had my first daughter, and as far as I was concerned, my parents, and I didn't need to know anything else. I had my daughter, and I remember thinking, how could somebody carry a child for 9 months and then just go, there you go. And it was that kind of started the process in my mind as to the need to try and find out a little bit more. Back when I was adopted, it was very different. It was literally, you will have no contact with this child. The parents won't know anything. It's a closed book. And then I think there was a law that came in where you could apply for your birth file, etc. So long story short, my birth mother, she was 26. She was in a very strict family, parents strict Methodists, and it was a case of, you're not married, you're pregnant, you can't stay here. Yeah. She tried, but it wasn't possible. And I think for me, you talked about obviously being open with your son and him knowing his background. For me, there's always been kind of this, even though I know that my situation was a situation, it wasn't because I was a bad baby, a bad child or anything like that. It was a situation that my birth mother found her in. There's always in the back of my mind, am I good enough? Is it something what was so wrong that I was rejected? And throughout my life, I've always tried to be a bit of a people pleaser, because it's really hard for me to be rejected by anybody. And I see it as a rejection. The adult in me can rationalise, well, that's silly, etc. And I'm just interested sort of listening what you say. I am in contact with my birth family now, and I've got a very good relationship with my birth mother, and I've got siblings. I think the dynamics of the family unit from the outside is very different to how the family unit feels to me. I still feel on the periphery. And that's nothing that they've done or anything. But it's interesting how you are saying that you're very open with your son. You talk about it, and you let him lead. That was never a thing in my family. My parents, they told me I was adopted, but it was quite a taboo subject.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know whether that was a generational thing, or whether it was the circumstances of how the adoption came about. Obviously you were having a 5-year-old as opposed to a baby, and whether things have changed in terms of the guidance that you as a parent get given, because it sounds like you had so much support, which is incredible.
Yeah, we did have a lot, and you have to go through a lot of training even before you're approved, because the idea in the training, they're kind of, although they're training you, they're also sort of assessing you, so looking at what you're saying, how you're approaching things, because they do go into a lot of detail. And I think to your point around things changing, they have changed in terms of, you are told from day one of your training that we're very open about adoption now. Yeah. So even, it's all about obviously age appropriateness, but there is an expectation, although they can't force you, there is an expectation that you will start to talk to your child about the fact they're adopted. Yeah. So there's not like, right, when they're 16, you've got to sit them down and tell them everything, or 18 or whatever. So even children that are adopted, if they're one or a baby, as they start to get older, there's books now you can use to start to talk about your life story. And every child, what they should do, our son definitely came with a book. It's called like his life story book. Okay. And it's done in like it's got animals as the different characters. So like you've got the judge as an owl, and the birth parents were different animals, and we were the foxes, because obviously we're Leicestershire. So it kind of helps us in an age appropriate way to understand, but it's very much the guidance that we were told was you always talk about it now in an age appropriate way, and you sort of drip feed bits and bobs.
I can imagine that obviously your situation is different, because your son was 5 when you adopted him, wasn't it? So, and he was very aware, having been in foster care, etc. But your situation, and also because historically it was very, very dealt with very, very differently. Yeah. But if you have a baby, you adopt a baby at 6, I think it would be really difficult to have that, to even start to have that conversation with your child, to say one 6 day weeks. To say, sorry.
I was 6 weeks.
6 weeks, that's what I'm saying. So as you got older, if it was me, I think I would find it really difficult to start that conversation with you when you were older, to sit down one day and say you're adopted.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah. But I think that comes into play with how differently it's dealt with nowadays.
Yeah, and like I said, that's why I believe that the fact he knew his story was very helpful, because I cannot, like you say, imagine having to sit him down and say, oh, by the way, you're adopted.
Yeah.
How do you
I
approach
don't
that?
I don't remember that conversation, but there must have been a conversation because I can't ever remember not knowing, and I don't know how old I was of anything. And sadly, my parents are no longer with me, so it's always the case. I wish I'd have asked this. I wish I'd have asked that. But I mean, I absolutely admire what you and your partner have done. I think it's an absolutely incredible thing to do. I'm a stepmother. I've been a stepmother for many years, and I find it. I love my stepson to bits, and he's amazing. But I think to have him living with me as the full time at a young age, and having my children, I think that would be very difficult kind of balance. Being a step parent is very different, I guess, to being an adopted parent. But to welcome that child into your home and knowing that potentially you're going to have some issues along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And our son has had issues, and because of like the circumstances of his adoption. And it's not until although you have training, it's not until you're in the situation and you know what you're dealing with that do you really go off and research and read up about things. So it took us time to get used to it.
Does he still have support in place for him?
Yeah, so again, our adoption agency is brilliant, and he has something called Theraplay, so it's a type of sort of play therapy, and again, it's all about trust.
Yeah.
So because obviously these children have to deal with a lot of have had to have a lot of different sort of services in their life. So we're very lucky we've got someone who's very experienced and they've built that trust up. So as a family, we do the sort of the sessions.
Okay.
So we just sit down and we sort of through play or sort of, it's very child led, shall we say.
Yeah.
But it's a way to help him grow the bond with us. Well, it was at first to grow the bond with us. And then we sort of talk about feelings and talk a lot about why things may happen.
Okay.
And I think a lot of what we've learned is trauma does a lot to your brain, which I didn't fully really understand until we sort of went to the adoption. So his trauma physically would have altered his brain in a way that means he things that happen to him, he sees it differently. He feels things differently.
Yeah.
His flight and fight response is way more heightened than mine would be.
Yeah.
Because it's always been heightened. So it makes you think.
And I think the thing is as well, even though on a day-to-day basis you can function and you can carry on and he will be fine, there's always it's that subconscious in the back of the mind, and there's certain triggers and things. I guess it's we were talking to somebody previously about domestic violence and things, and whilst you can then be in a loving relationship and everything is absolutely fine, there's no hint, just one little movement or something that triggers that memory can set that individual back so much, can't it? And it's really encouraging that you've got that support and that you attend that as a family. Does he have any individual
not yet, so I think it depends on the age of the child. So so he's also with CAMS at the moment to sort of potentially look at some occupational therapy for sensory issues, because again the effects on the brain can cause him to feel things differently, but it will change as he gets older. And that's why there is something called the Adoption Support Fund, and that's a fund for families to, with their social workers, tap into to pay for therapy. So that's how his therapy at the moment is paid for, is through the Adoption Support Fund.
Fabulous.
And that was changed recently. And I think that's something that's really big in my head at the moment, is that was cut recently by the government in terms of that funding.
Why was that cut, do you know?
So I think they reviewed it. They reviewed sort of, because it's renewed every year and it wasn't renewed in time, so that there was a bit of a lapse, which caused a lot of families issues, because then their therapy had to stop, all their support stopped, and while the government made their decision, and for reasons that I guess unknown to me, they decided to cut the level of funding. So before, without going into loads of detail, you could apply for a pot of money for therapy, but also a pot of money for an assessment. Because sometimes you don't know what a child needs until they're assessed.
Absolutely.
And these assessments cost a lot of money. So you used to be able to sort of do two parts. You could have, in 1 year, you could have your assessment, and then you could have your therapy, depending on what the assessment said. Now, basically, you could have one or the other. So you could have an assessment, say, in 2026, but have to wait until 2027.
That's so bad.
To be able to then start anything. So that's why it's really hard. It was really hard to hear that, because they're the most vulnerable people in our some of the most vulnerable people in our society. And I don't know. I've looked at a lot of sort of information on this, and essentially it's cutting costs now, but it's storing costs for the future. because again, one of
If
the
they
first,
don't get the help now,
yeah,
when they need it, when it's
yeah.
been identified,
If you think about it, if they'd
happen?
remained in foster care, the government would have been funding the foster care.
which is very expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now you've taken that burden away from the foster care and the funding element, and now you're just being left in the lurch.
Yeah.
That's really wrong.
So you've got that. You've also got the possibility of children going into care homes,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
are also then much more expensive.
Yeah.
But then the research has shown, again, something we were told very early on, is that these children are much more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So things like county lines and being influenced in terrorism, which sounds really extreme, but because they are much more vulnerable,
yeah,
Yeah.
they can be more easily led. So unfortunately, you're just storing up issues for the future.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I always have in the back of my
Yeah.
mind. Is, although it's extreme, it's always like better to be aware of it than to be blissfully ignorant.
I don't think it is, because I think it goes back to your point, self-esteem.
yeah,
You say that when you not always, but you would think, what is it about me?
yeah,
So I would imagine that's the same for most adopted children or even foster children. It's their self-esteem,
yeah,
which then makes them vulnerable to be exposed to other things, because it's all
Yeah.
about wanting to feel needed.
yeah,
Yes.
And even if you feel you get that from the wrong people, it's still that feeling of feeding that need, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I think can it not be overturned, the funding?
Well, there's a lot of adoption charities are fighting and
Yeah.
obviously speaking to the relevant ministers.
Yeah.
I've written to my MP about it
Yeah.
because I just think it didn't get as much attention. So obviously when the winter fuel allowance was changed, for example, that got
yes,
headline news.
yes,
Whereas this kind of just went a bit under the radar, because unless you're using
Involved
that
in
fund,
it.
you don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
But don't you find that happens a lot, though? The important decisions, they're just ignored. They're not the social media, the media. They don't publicise the things that they don't want you
Actually
to know
matter.
about.
Yeah, but it's the things that actually matter to
Yeah.
people, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
and,
Yeah.
and they may not affect that many families, but the families it does affect, it makes a massive
Massively.
difference.
Yeah, of course
Yeah.
it does.
And we're very fortunate. I mean, our son does not have a lot of needs. Like, yes, he has needs, but they're not the severe end, shall we say. There's children out there that have very severe needs and will probably never sort of be able to fully
access that.
get over them. So that support is vital.
Yeah,
Because something else that isn't talked about is adoption breakdown, which
Yeah.
happens because
yeah,
once an adoption order goes through, it's illegal.
Yeah.
Ours went, ours went to court. We weren't there, but
Yeah.
that was all a legal process. He's our son.
Yeah.
So when you talk about adoption breakdown, it's essentially a very hard process, not only for the family that's been built up, but there's all the legal
Yeah.
implications
Yeah.
and all sorts. And that's also doesn't get talked about a lot because it's not nice.
Are you involved in any sort of charity work around adoption or anything like that?
I'm not involved in charity work, but what I would say is I do try to use like my social media presence sometimes to share things
Okay.
related to adoption
Yeah.
in
Okay.
terms of like adoption support fund or why
Yeah.
these things are important.
Okay.
And I'm also on the council I'm the Equalities and Diversity and Inclusion champion.
Okay.
It's something very close to my heart, especially as my son also has ADHD as well. So there's
Okay.
that neurodivergent piece there. And so I was sort of approached to do that in the second year of my term. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, because I just think it's really important to raise awareness. I know some people are given that sort of that topic a lot of stick at the moment, but I think it's really important that we have an awareness.
Yeah.
Mm.
And because at the end of the day, it helps us all communicate and understand
Of
each
course
other
it
more.
does. And
Absolutely.
you know, I
Yeah.
think that we are so much more aware of behaviours, mannerisms, language to use, etc. now, and I think because we're developing the science and everything else and the understanding of it, I think people sort of say, well, it was never like that in my day. Well, no, but that's because we're so much more advanced now, you know, and it's understanding that. And I think in my family, I've got nephews and nieces that have ADHD, autism, and it's almost as if you need to get that label, if you like, to be able to get them the help.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
And that's what's a horrible thing about the way the education system is set up.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, his school are fantastic and have done above and beyond what we would have expected. But again, in order to help them as well, you need a label.
yeah,
Yeah.
And what's sad is trauma is not seen as it's not a label that you
Yeah.
can give.
Yeah.
So everyone knows what ADHD is, autism,
Yeah.
etc. but trauma, which fundamentally alters the brain, according to the research, isn't seen as a disability, shall we say. So it's almost like, although everyone was aware of his background at school, by getting the ADHD label, that actually opens up a lot more funding and support. So he's got his AHCP now, so that's the legal, I guess, document. What support he's required to get, that's helped a lot. And it sounds bad, but again,
it's crazy. Yeah. It is crazy because that is something that they have had to look into and diagnose, if you like, where the trauma is there to be seen. Yeah. It's documented. You don't have to look into it any further. And yet he doesn't have access to the help that he needs for that trauma. He's got to wait for this diagnosis to get help around the back door almost.
Yeah, and also to make sure, because, you know, teachers are great and schools are great, but they're not trained in all these so luckily for us, our school went, because it was the first adopted child they had, they went and did trauma-informed training.
Fabulous.
So they got the support, but again, it's very specialist. So it's not something you come across a lot. So it's really important. I think we're lucky that we're the people that are able to, you know, research and read and advocate strongly for our son. And that's where I guess some families would struggle as well. Yeah. It's not always easy, especially when you're up against institutions and, you know, who've got
it's
their
really
policies.
daunting, isn't it? You know, it's you know, you were saying about all the paperwork and the folders and stuff you have, and it's like, oh my God,
really
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk to you for hours. Honestly, I could. I think it's absolutely fascinating because
really
I've got that kind of almost the other side of the story kind of thing and the experience that I could literally talk to you for hours. It's been brilliant having you on.
It's really
Thank
interesting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
We've come to the part in the pod now where we
Can I just ask, you don't, doesn't sound like you have much time for fun, but do you do anything other than what you spoke about?
Oh yeah, I mean, I actually really like being a parish councillor, so we get to organise loads of events.
Okay.
So I'm always doing stuff like that. But I play the piano, like I said. We go to badminton club. Like me and my partner like to try and travel as much as we can. So yeah, like that's all important to us. We get.
How'd you get the time?
I know.
Sounds like you're working full time.
Everything is all. I've even started putting in calendar invites into my Outlook on a Saturday now, just so I know I've got this on and that. But
Has your son got a particular interest in anything?
Tennis.
Oh.
Yeah, he started that about 6-8 months ago. He had his first little tournament a few weeks ago, actually. So yeah, he really likes that.
Wow.
That's
so we might
nice.
be watching him on the TV then.
Well, one day, you know, we can only hope, can't we?
We'll keep an eye out for you on the sidelines there. Yeah, fab.
I'll get you tickets if he does.
Yeah, well, you heard it here first. And the autograph. So yeah, we've come to the part where we do, every episode we give our listeners 2 laws, one of which is potentially false, one of which is potentially true. And so we'll give you the opportunity to guess from our previous episode, and then we'll give 2 new laws. You can have a guess, but we won't give you the answer until the next episode.
You have to listen to the next one to get the answers to this
So
one.
do you want to go first with the
Yes, so the first one
episode?
this is under the Libraries Offences Act 1898. It is illegal to gamble in a British library. Or
Is that true? Or is it a criminal offence under the Eviction Act 1971 to change the locks on a tenanted property if your tenant has not paid you rent?
Oh my God, that's hard. I'm going to say the one that is true is the library one.
yes, that is true.
So yes.
That's correct. It's all to do with, like, obviously if you're gambling, you can get a bit vocal and your behaviour can become quite erratic, so it's causing a nuisance to other people in this quiet area.
Keeping the noise down.
I can't remember the last time I went to a library.
I love a library. I used to take my kids to libraries
Yeah,
all the
Albert
time.
goes all the time, but I can't
Love
remember the
a
last time
library.
I've been.
But they're closing because of funding. They close a lot of
Yeah.
libraries, don't
We
they?
need to use our libraries so
Yeah.
we don't lose them.
Yeah. New laws.
New laws.
So, is it true or false that it's perfectly legal to display a sign in a shop saying no refunds?
Oh. Mine is in Connecticut. In Connecticut, a pickle cannot be sold unless it bounces. That's the Food Safety Act 1948. So you can have a guess, but we'll
We
not
won't
tell you the
tell you.
answer.
Okay, I'm going to guess that the first one regarding the no refund sign is false.
Okay.
And I'll have to listen to the next episode to find out.
And now Geraldine is going to share with us her very inspirational thought of the day.
We always have a thought for the day, don't
We ought to have some music at this point. Like,
should,
you know how they used to
yeah.
Tales of the Unexpected?
Oh, I used to love that. Yeah, can we put some music in? Ooh! So, this is all to do with rubber bands. Elastic bands. So, not the Kama Sutra rubber band. Anyway.
Why is there rubber bands in the Kama Sutra?
No. Rubber.
Oh,
Rubber.
Geraldine.
Anyway. So, persistence isn't always about a grand heroic effort. Sometimes it is the quiet ability to remain springy. Life has a way of dropping us all from a height every now and then. Your value isn't defined by the fall, it is defined by the fact that you are solid enough to catch some air on the way back up. Even a tiny bounce is proof that you are still intact and ready for the next chapter. The human spirit is like a rubber band. It may be stretched, but it rarely breaks, and it always remembers how to return to its shape.
Wow. Profound.
Profound. So it's springy.
Very good.
Springy.
Have you got the Squirrels one in there?
I have got the
I
Squirrels
think you
one.
should share that with, I know
Do you
Matt
like- you
listens
do
to our
like that one?
podcast, but yes, because I think that's relevant to today.
Oh, right, okay. Let me find the squirrel one.
She's just going through her
Oh.
notebook.
Oh. Oh, no, I'll have it in this
Intrigued now.
the blue in my other book. Hang on. I have that many books. I don't know. Which episode was the squirrel one? Can you remember? Couple of goes ago. So I think I wrote it in this book. Here we go. Squirrel.
Yeah.
When a female squirrel discovers a lost baby squirrel, her first instinct is to offer food, but before anything else, she makes sure that it is truly orphaned. For 3 days, she watches, searches, and waits. And when she is certain that the little one is alone, she takes it in with infinite tenderness. She feeds it, gently tames it, and slowly integrates it into her family as if it had always been one of her own. A mother squirrel is also a caring partner. When her partner returns home carrying nuts, she greets him with a kiss, and he expresses his love by offering her the most beautiful nuts and almonds. Together, they form a wonderful family and also help preserve the future of humanity, for half of the seeds they bury, perhaps forgotten, will grow into new shrubs, new trees and forests. So let us learn a little from the wisdom of the animals. I actually put teaser for our guest, Matt.
Oh, that's very nice. It is very
It's nice,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Just goes to show if we observe a bit more before
Yeah.
we leap.
So we'd like to
Oh, yes.
give you this little goodie bag.
Oh,
Say
thank
very
you.
much for joining us.
Oh, that's amazing. I shall use the bag with pride in the future. I can say I was on this podcast.
Yes,
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
we have.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
So that brings us to the end of another Lawfully Yours episode. We're on fire this week. I think it's 3 we've recorded.
3,
this
I
week,
know.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So don't forget to like, follow and share on all of your social media platforms. We are on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube,
Tiki-toki.
Instagram.
And Instagram.
And don't forget you can email us with any questions or thoughts you have, or if you want to be a guest or want to put someone else forward to be a guest, at lawfullyyourspod@gmail.com. That's right.
You've got it. I haven't got it.
lawfullyyourspod@gmail.com. So for now, I've been Vickki Ridgway.
And I've been Geraldine Watson.
And together
We are
we've been
Lawfully Yours.